sit and paint together on this beautiful fall day. I can see so many leaves um, fallen on the ground from my window, and we are also going to paint something similar. You can see it's the fall theme, the similar kind of colors, the whole mood. And yes, it's going to be Halloween next week. So what better than painting a combination of cats and fall and the dark night and things like that. So I thought, why not paint something very friendly Halloween? And these two cats, they remind me of friendship, and maybe they also share candy together. So we're going to paint this today, and it's going to be very simple. And most importantly, just enjoy to paint the colors of fall, because that's the most happy part. Doesn't matter how you paint it, but these colors, try to make them as beautiful and as vivid as possible. So I'll give you guys like 5 to 10 minutes to finish this drawing. It's very simple. um, don't worry too much about how each of this brick looks. You can also paint directly with your paintbrush. I just did it because I had time and I thought, let the sketch look neat. But you can just do the cats and just a little bit of boundary, and then I'll show you how we can paint. So just go ahead, make a simple drawing, and then I'll show you what colors we're going to use and how we're going to divide the painting in different parts and achieve it. Okay, any questions, please let us know, and just let loose and enjoy the day. So go ahead. We have almost all the colors of fall that we can use, and it's so interesting. We are going to paint bricks, and I never noticed this, but I noticed this when I was painting this and making a sketch of this, that bricks also have so many similar colors of fall. They have yellows, they have the gold, they have the burnt sienna or the browns, they have the maroons, um, all those colors, and they're so similar, like they're all part of nature. So I thought it'd be very interesting to paint, all those rustic colors that we see in fall and in the bricks. And I'll also show you how we can paint the mood here, the sky. We'll make a few changes so that, we are not a slave of the photograph. We're just using it as a reference, and we don't have to copy it exactly. Just keep the drawing simple, and then the rest, it's going to be simple. I hope you have the link for the reference pictures. So another 5 more minutes, and then we'll start with our painting. Just keep your brushes, your water close to you. Colors, again, I'll explain. Not We don't need that many colors, but it's a good idea to keep your setup ready. for those who paint frequently or who plan to paint frequently, it's a good idea to have a very small space dedicated just for painting. Keep your sketchbook, your paint supplies right there every day, so that it's like a reminder that, you can go ahead and paint for like 5-10 minutes. I always keep my painting stuff everywhere in the house so that I get reminded that, hey, I haven't painted today. And that way I'm curious to paint different subjects as well. You can see my palette on the camera. It's pretty messy because I paint a lot and there is always some paint, getting mixed up. But I don't worry too much. Sometimes I get some beautiful grays that I was not planning. So they're nice. I try not to mix too much next to the yellows or some colors that really become dull and muddy. But otherwise, a little bit of mixing is fine. You get these beautiful grays, unexpected, that you can never mix it by yourself. They just mix by themselves. So about 2 minutes more, 2 to 3 minutes more. You might have also noticed I always put a tape around my area of painting. It's completely optional. The reason I do it is it almost gives you like a frame to work with. It's always nice to have a boundary to work with because you can imagine the subject, either rectangle or square, whatever way you think. But it just gives you a good, neat look and also keeps your painting clean and neat. So it's optional, but these tapes are very nice. They don't damage the paper. So always have some kind of tape that is on the sides. Okay, just one more minute. Okay, so now we can start gathering our paints together. And before we start painting, let me show you what colors we can use. As you can see, some of the colors are pretty obvious. You can see yellows, oranges, almost like a burnt orange, which has got a bit of, very reddish oranges tones. You can use some reds here, some really nice browns here, and again, really dark reds and browns here. You can see the cats are, one is almost like very gray and one is black. You don't have to do very solid black or a solid gray because I'm going to give a little bit of life in the atmosphere instead of just painting it very flat. So that way, you change the painting a little bit from what you see in the picture, and also it gives a little bit of mood. This is too flat. It's too boring, you can say. So that's the reason we're going to change a little bit of background. And how are you going to approach this painting? Again, you divide the painting in parts so that you don't get overwhelmed with so many bricks. How I'm going to do all these rectangles. And the best way is to imagine them as just rectangles and not bricks, because you would just go crazy. So we're going to first work on the background here, because while that dries, we can go below and paint the second half of the painting. Okay, and then when that is done, you can go back again and make some additions here. Okay, so we're going to first start here, and the colors you need for this is, you can take some blue, I'm going to add some dark purples because I want to give it a little night feel. It's dark. Okay, and the way we're going to do this is, we're going to paint this first half of the paper with just wet water, and you keep your paints ready, and then we're going to add the paint on that wet surface. Okay, so you'll see what I'll do, but I just wanted you to be ready that we're going to first wet the paper with clean water and then add some paint. Okay, so gather your paints. I do have my blues ready. I have a little bit of my purple ready. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take some clean water. There is nothing on this brush except water. I'm just going to wet it really well. Everything. Okay. Including the cat part here. Make sure it's wet enough. Not like a puddle. You don't have to have a puddle here, but should be wet enough. Otherwise the paint won't flow nicely. And just till here. I might also wet this tail area because the paint will flow here. Just the tail. Or you can work with that part later. But since I'm wetting it, just the tail area with some water. And if you feel it's drying very quickly, go ahead, put another mop on it with just plain water. Okay. Now I'm going to take some nice blues and just go over it. Including the cat. And you can see I did not come very close to the moon. I don't want much color on it because we need it white there. Okay. And you can see that the color is just blending in. And it is always nice to have nice colorful cats, right? So I'm going to just because this area is wet, what happens is as soon as you even touch the brush in that area, it just lets the water move there because it has a medium. The medium is water here. So your paint gets a medium to work with. Okay. And that's it. We are done with really a very big chunk of the first part. And of course, we'll let this dry. And when we come back, we're going to color we're going to color both the cats with a little bit different.
Megha, let me interrupt you for 1 second.
Yeah.
Should they wet the moon?
You should wet the moon if you want. If you can save it, that's fine. I did wet it. I didn't want to have a very harsh line, but it's okay.
And is it electrician's tape that you're using?
Is the what?
Is that electrician's tape that you're using? What kind of tape are you
Oh,
using?
this is not an electric tape. It is it's called an artist tape. I can send you the name. It's just right on my other table. It's called an artist tape. And artist tape is different from the electrician tape. Those tapes are harsh and it ruins the texture of the paper, the watercolor paper. Artist tape they are much more stronger, but very, very delicate on the paper that you use, because these papers are really expensive and you don't want to let the grain of the paper come off when you pull the tape off. So that's the only part we're doing right now. I'll give you guys a bit of time to catch up on this, and then we go to the next part. If at all the color gets where the moon is, you just take a paper like this, like a Kleenex or something, and while it's still wet, you just dab it. So what happens is it lifts off the paint. You can call this part as almost like the underpainting. You got some kind of flow into it, and now you're going to add a little more layers on it to make it look realistic. Okay, we'll go to the next part in like about 2 or 3 minutes. I'll give you time, but just keep some colors ready. You can start with the yellow or orange, any other color, any color, okay? Yellow, orange, any light warm color. If you talk about what warm colors are, your yellows, your oranges, your reds, your browns. These are your warm colors. Think of fire. Okay, so I'll start with some yellows. Okay, and you can start with any brick or any rectangle shape that you like. Okay, it doesn't have to be in a certain order, but to keep it simple, and for the sake of simplicity, I would say I start with one color and then I skip a rectangle, one or two, so that we get some variety when we paint other colors. And all I'm doing is just taking that one yellow and moving across, making sure that none of these yellows fall under the same other yellow, alternating patterns. Okay, because I'm going to add other colors in between and I don't want any repetition. You can use some other yellow like ochre, like golden yellow. They kind of look different. Look at this yellow and this yellow. It's a little dull, but I like it because I want to give some variation, and fall colors do have different yellows, like the ochre. You know how it is different. And you just go alternate rectangles to fill up those gaps. Even if you don't draw here, it's okay. You're just making a rectangle with your paints. Same here, just making changes here. You can vary it a little bit, a little darker, a little lighter. Just make it look different, because all bricks are different, right? They can never look the same. So you have a little bit of the area covered. Next, you can take some orange, or some orange mixed with red, and go with other bricks alternatively, leaving gaps. I'll give you guys at least 2 or 3 minutes to catch up, and then I'll move on to the other color. You see this small foliage here of like few fall leaves. I will come to that part, but I'm just going to finish first the rectangles, the bricks. Okay, so I'll start with some orange. And again, make sure this orange has some variation. Add a tad of red maybe. Let it look different. And in the end, if you think if some brick looks very similar, just go ahead and either add some color or remove some of the color from it. And the way you remove color is you just, I can show it to you in one of the bricks actually. So give me a second. I'll show you how to remove color or lighten something. That way you can keep the variation. And because colors, some of the colors dry really light. And that might really worry you that I put so much paint and they look so dull and light now, which is okay. Every color is different. Some colors are more saturated. The brands also matter a lot. If you're using a very good brand of paint, chances are you'll not have that much of problem. But watercolors, they do dry lighter, about 8 to 10% lighter. That's just how that their behavior is, because of the transparency they have. You can see that now the bricks have started to look a little real. They'll all come together. once all the colors are in. You can see we got more variation. Next, I can add some browns. I can add some brown and red mixed together. Okay, but I'll give you guys a little bit of time to catch up. So go ahead, then we start picking our browns. Okay, we can start with some brown here. And continue those hues again alternatively. You can go dark, you can go light, you can add some red. I added a tinge of red to this brown. And see how it changes. Really nice. You can even add a slight ochre to your brown, become a little lighter, but again, change it slightly. And I may not add a lot of brown. I want to keep more reds, I would say. So I'm going to skip more so that I can add more reds and those pinks, very dark colors. Okay. Take some reds now. If you like, you can add some yellow. It will become almost orange, but I'll still keep more red than the yellow. That will keep it dark. Yeah, I like that. Also add a bit of brown to this tinge. You can see now so many different colors, all fall colors are here now. And you can use the imagination to make more grays with these colors, tweaking their ratio. Just keep adding the same colors that we used. And you'll see so many different oranges, so many different yellows. Okay, so we are almost done with this brick part. We'll finish this as well because it has some tiny bricks and the other colors. Okay, but I'll give you guys a bit of time to catch up. You can also check if this is dry. It's still slightly damp. Hopefully we'll be done with this and then this will dry. Okay. We'll start with those leaves here. And I'll pick yellow first because they're bright and nice. Pick 2 or 3 places where it can alternate. And then you can pick some green. You can again vary the green a little bit by adding a little bit of yellow. to make it lighter. And the same way, other areas, I picked some yellow, but also use some dark colors to let it shine. Yeah. And all the empty spaces you see, you can add the same brick colors that you used, maybe a bit of yellow, orange, to fill those gaps. Once you're done with that part, we'll do this parallel area. And you can see there are like at least 3 colors I see here, kind of yellow, orange, and really dark blackish or brownish tinge that is at the base. So those are the colors I'm going to use. And what I'll do is I'm just going to pick some yellow and go ahead throughout the area here, work in small sections. While this is wet, I'll take my red and just add some of it, leaving some yellows here and there. You can also add a bit of brown. That's fine. It has to look different. I'm going to add this while it's still wet. The most important part is being wet. I can add some brown. You see how it mingles? A little bit extra on the base. You see that it just changes everything. And I'm going to continue in the same 2 sections. Some parts will have more brown, some parts again more red or orange. So take your time and finish that part. And I'll move on to the next areas. Same, starting with a bit of yellow. I'll put less yellow here because I see it's getting darker as you're going to the right side. And I want to keep it really nice and dark. Most of the colors that I use are very um, uniform. You just have to adjust their quantities slightly. Sometimes it's more of yellow. Oops, I think some color got mixed in the yellow. That's fine. And in some places, it's more darker colors or cooler colors. You just have to tweak those quantities sometimes. Instead of picking another different orange color or a brown color, you just need to mix it in different proportions. And I don't know how many of you paint very regularly in watercolors, but that's the unique quality of watercolors, that you don't need too many paints. You can mix so much out of just few tubes, and they can give you like countless varieties of color. So I'll leave this here now, and we'll get back with the cat, with the two cats, because we need some variation. Okay. And that looks different than the background. So mine is quite dry. Okay. And usually I don't use a black from a tube, but today I think I'll use it just to give it a little bit of drama. That cat looks really black and nice. And I think it will really go nice with the kind of background we have created of bricks around it. So in 2 or 3 minutes, I will pick a little bit of gray or black. And then first I'll paint this cat. Then I'll paint this cat because I want this one lighter and this one darker. So first catch up on what you're painting, and then we'll start the next one. In the meantime, I'm just going to tweak a few things here and there, maybe get some darker lines here. It's always a good idea to keep looking at your painting again and again, where you can add things. And I'll let you know how to even remove color. I think these cats look really cute together. Okay, so I'll go ahead with a bit of this almost black. It's called Payne's Gray. I don't mind mixing it a little bit with the purple that is sitting next to it. We did use some purple. It's going to give some life to that black. Okay, but I want to keep it light. And I'm going to go in smaller areas first. Go gentle, go slow, because this is a small area. And the shapes are small. It's got twists and turns. But I'm just trying to make it different than the background now. Okay. Don't hesitate to add a bit of blue or some color that is in somewhere of the painting. You can even add a bit of red actually, why not? You want to make the painting look harmonious, the whole thing look like one. And for that, most of the colors should look together. Otherwise, they'll just look like two different parts of the painting. They won't come together. And that was the reason I even painted the underpainting on the cats. I can take some red. I don't mind. And see, you can go with it. Feel free to add some green. Why not? Gray doesn't have to be just like a black and white gray. Gray can have colors too. And you'll notice this when you do shadows. See, I'm adding a bit of blue here because there is some blue in the sky. Okay, but I want some warmth here, so I think I have to go with a bit of red somewhere. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so finish that part and then we'll go to the other cat then. And the other cat, I definitely need a darker, rich, more paint. I'm going to squeeze some paint on my palette. So I am prepping my palette now. Enough water, enough paint. And again, I'm going to go slowly. Some darker paint this time. I am going to work a little faster. Reason being, I don't want this paint to dry. I don't want streaks on the cat, on the area. So I'm just going to work a little faster. Okay, and the only way you work faster actually is not by painting fast. Well, that's one thing. But if you make enough paint on your palette, what you can do is you can just quickly pick it up and keep going. If your paint is not ready on the palette, then it's like you miss the bus. It's really hard to catch up on those streaks and they look very uneven. And same here, I am going to add some personality to the cat. Let's see, can we do some blue? Okay, we can do some blue. Can we do some red? Let's see, I did add some, doesn't show. A little bit, okay. The other way to work faster is to have a bigger brush. Yes, that helps a lot. If you're going to use a very small 1 number, 0 number kind of a brush, uh, you're never going to be able to cover that area easily. It's just going to be, they're going to dry and, you're not going to like the whole effect of that painting. So definitely you can see the brush I'm using. I don't mind adding a bit of actually red here. But big areas, big brush. Small areas, small brush. Because small areas, you need control, and that comes with a smaller brush. Big areas, you need free flow, and that comes with a bigger brush. You want the painting to paint by itself on the paper. Okay, like these things, these brushes are great when you're working like a really big surface. Okay, so complete this part, and then we just have one small thing to do, and I'll also show you how to remove paint. Adding paint is very easy. Let it dry, add more paint. You want to make it darker, but removing paint can be a little tricky, but I want to show it to you. So finish this part, and we're almost done. We just have like 5 more minutes and we should be done. Just one last thing left here, and I'll show you what. I usually don't use white paint, but today I am going to use it. I'm breaking all my rules today. I don't use black paint, I'm going to use black paint, and I don't use white paint, so I'm going to use white paint. But it's okay if you use it sometimes. So I am taking some white paint and on my brush, some nice thick paint. Less water, more paint, okay? Because I just want to highlight this moon slightly. It lost some of its whiteness because some color got into it. But I just want to add some white for it to shine, really shine. And, just some illusion of a star here and there. Or the sky, I would say. Right? So that's the thing. But remember, when you use white like this, where you have already some paint, it has to be really thick and dark for it to really show up. I'm pretty sure this will dry, and I'm going to go ahead and add a little more white paint, but that's okay. You need to always improvise your painting. So that's something I've done. And I'll show you again, if I have to lighten any of these bricks, how would I do it? I would just take a clean brush, remove most of the water from it. It has some water, but it's not like soaking wet and dropping water, right? And let's say I want to lighten this area. So I just gently, very gently scrub over it in most likely in the same direction. And I take my paper towel. The softer, the better. And I'm going to just dab it and remove it. And you can see it removed some paint. Now, sometimes you have to go and work many times to let it scrub. Now, at this point, I would not bother to remove more paint. I will let it dry and then again go back with my brush and gently scrub again in the same direction. This process has to be slow because you are, just imagine, you're fixing something, and that also requires a skill, right? It's like fixing an outfit. You cannot make big stitches or holes into it. So the same way, this paper is very delicate And the more you scrub into it, it's going to ruin all its grain and it's going to look very bad. So go slow with this process if at all you're using. And if you think you need to add some paint, let it dry and add some paint. Every time you remove or add something, that layer should be dried. Okay, so that's one good secret I'm sharing with you guys, that let it dry. Be patient. Watercolors is about patience. It's not about that much of skill, honestly. But yeah, if you can develop patience in watercolor, you can do anything. So yeah, that's it. Don't forget to sign your name. You can sign anywhere. Don't sign in the middle. You never sign in the middle. So somewhere you know, on the right hand side or left hand side, and always sign your paintings. Make it yours. Make it personal, and just enjoy. That's it from me today, guys. Any questions? Let me know. I can put my email on the chat, and Lauren can um, send it to you. Any questions regarding supplies, any questions regarding materials, where I buy from. I buy from a lot of online websites, and I think they're currently having a huge sale for holidays and stuff. So stock up and paint a lot.